What's going on, everybody? G-Money here with another episode of Weapon Reviews for The Last of Us. In the last episode, in case you missed it, I covered the 9mm, the revolver, and the shorty, so if you missed that, go check it out if you're interested. And in this episode, we'll be covering the hunting rifle, the semi-auto, the burst rifle, and the bow, so all of these slot 2 weapons, basically. So let's start out with the hunting rifle. Obviously, this is the long-range weapon of the 4. It's actually probably the weapon I use the most in terms of the slot 2 weapons. For me, it's the most reliable, and I've gotten really skilled with pulling off headshots and whatnot. But let's talk about the damage of the hunting rifle. When me and my friend went in to test the damage that the hunting rifle did, we found that body shots do almost 3 bars of damage. Again, if you want to convert the health bars to 100 points of health, you could say that the hunting rifle does about 55 damage to the body. So that's a little bit more than half of the player's health you're going to be taking out with each shot. Possibly enough to kill an enemy if he's very weakened. However, headshots are of course a one-hit kill, and that's the great thing about the hunting rifle. Of course, it's also got a scope, which makes it great for maps like Lakeside and University, and even the Dam in some respects. The hunting rifle can give you a really huge advantage over long ranges, but you have to be careful of getting into standoffs with other snipers because you might have your head poked out and you won't realize it, and someone else will snipe you. But in terms of things I like about the hunting rifle, obviously it's great for long-range maps like the ones I listed. It's very accurate. There's no doubt about hitting your enemies when the red dot is on them. There's no chance of it missing really because of recoil or whatever. If the reticle is on your enemy, it's pretty much a guaranteed hit. It's obviously very powerful. At the very most, it's a 2-hit kill. And it's great if you're more of a support class. If you like staying back and spotting enemies, this is really a great weapon for you to support your teammates with and help them out by calling out enemy positions and whatnot, and of course just supporting them from far away. The only things I don't like about the hunting rifle is ammo is a bit expensive and it's kind of easy to run out of ammo. You start with only 5 shots, and to purchase more ammo it costs 240 parts and you're only getting 3 shots. So it's not horribly expensive, it's not unreasonable, but it's definitely a little bit expensive. And of course the hunting rifle can't be used at close range very well. I mean, it can be used sometimes, but it's pretty risky. You're probably going to lose like 8 out of 10 close range battles if you're using the hunting rifle. Of course you could just swap to your pistol, which is, likely going to be free in terms of loadout points, so you'll always have that, but it's something to keep in mind. Hunting rifle definitely comes recommended from me though. I really love this weapon. It's my favorite of the 4, and it's really reliable in terms of long range battles. Now let's move on to the semi-auto rifle. This is probably, I would say, even though it's not my favorite, it's probably the best slot 2 weapon to have. It's probably the most reliable, the most well-rounded, and the most versatile. When we went in and we tested the damage of the semi-auto, again, if you're going to go on a 100-point scale as far as health bars go, each shot to the chest does about 35 damage, which is almost 2 bars of health. If you hit somebody in the head, it does more like 3.5 bars of health, which is approximately 70 damage. So the headshots are pretty powerful, but nothing more than the revolver or the 9mm really, at least not too much more than the 9mm. So in terms of headshot damage, it's nothing special. However, if you get a headshot, you're looking at a 2-hit kill pretty easily. So that's definitely something to keep in mind. Again, another downside of the semi-auto is ammo is a little bit limited, easy to run out of, and quite expensive. When you purchase ammo, you only get 4 shots, and that's for 220 parts. And you start out with 7 bullets, which is decent. You can get a few kills with that. But it's also easy to miss, and I find myself, personally, when I'm using the semi-auto, I find myself running out of ammo very quickly. So the semi-auto is a really, really good weapon. It's probably the most well-rounded of the 4. Even though I prefer the hunting rifle for my playstyle, semi-auto definitely comes recommended. Let's go on to the burst rifle now. I'm going to pretty much just cut to the chase here. I really don't like this weapon. I've tried it many times. I've tried to figure out what situations it might be effective in, but I can't figure out any situation in which the burst rifle is advantageous to any of these other slot 2 weapons. In any scenario, in any given scenario, the hunting rifle, the semi-auto, or the bow is going to be more effective than the burst rifle. In terms of specifics, though, as far as why this gun isn't very good, we tested the damage. It's on par exactly with the 9mm in terms of the amount of damage it does. It does 1 bar of health per bullet. Now keep in mind it is a burst rifle, so if you manage to get an entire burst to make contact with the enemy, you're looking at dealing 3 bars of health, which is decent. The problem with the burst rifle, though, is that there's so much recoil and it's really not that accurate, so it's very difficult to land an entire burst on the enemy. In addition to the fact that ammo is expensive and on the short side, you only get 3 bursts per clip before you have to reload. And again, you don't have much ammo to begin with, so you're going to have to probably purchase more ammo. Considering how inaccurate the gun is, it's just an inevitable cycle of missing the enemy and purchasing more ammo. It's going to drain your parts, and you're not going to... There's just no tangible reason I can think of to use the burst rifle. The burst rifle does not come recommended at all. I would say avoid this weapon at all costs. Experiment with it if you must, but I have not yet found a situation in which the burst rifle is better than any of these other guns. Let's move on to the bow now, which is probably the most popular weapon I see being used in the game. What's great about the bow is that obviously it's silent. Of course, that comes at a cost. It is 3 loadout points as opposed to 2 like all the other guns in this category. But, however, if you want to silence any of the other weapons, they cost 4 points, 4 loadout points. So it can be looked at as a disadvantage or an advantage. I'd say it's more of an advantage, though, because it is silent. It takes less loadout points than any of the other silenced weapons. And the bow is just as powerful as the hunting rifle. In fact, the damage is exactly the same. It does almost 3 bars of health for a shot to the body, and it's a one-hit kill to the head. So it's very powerful. It's silent, which means that you can stay stealthy. It's great for stealth classes. And it's very accurate as well. I mean, the only problem with the bow in terms of accuracy is it's not as easy to use as the hunting rifle or any of the guns, because it's not a gun. The arrows take time to travel, so you have to kind of get a lead on your enemy. And of course, the draw speed of the bow can impact your shooting in certain situations. So it just takes practice. It's not as easy to use as the guns. And the only other problem I can really find with the bow is that at close range it's kind of difficult to use because, again, of the draw speed. You can't reflexively shoot the enemy, really. But aside from the learning curve and the close range ineffectiveness, it's extremely powerful, it's silent, it's accurate, and it's essentially a medium range version of the hunting rifle. You don't have a scope, so you can use it at shorter distances, and you can still use it at longer distances. I'm going to say you should consider the bow for certain situations. I don't think it's effective in every situation. Certainly it can be, but again, it all depends on whether or not you're willing to take the time to learn how to use it properly. And certainly it can hurt your kill-death ratio the first few times you use it. But I've also heard people say it's really easy to use and whatnot. But in my opinion, it's definitely worth considering, especially for stealth-based classes. The bow and arrow has a lot of great qualities. It all depends on your playstyle and whether or not you're willing to take the time to learn the weapon. So that concludes episode 2 of Weapon Reviews. In the next episode, I'll be covering 3 of the 6 purchasable weapons, and then there will be a part 2 where I cover the other 3 purchasable weapons. And then we're going to go on to craftables, and then that'll be the end of this series. I may take a break in the middle of this series to upload another commentary video or 2, but you should be seeing these going up over the next week or 2. So thank you for watching very much, everybody. If you enjoyed the video, if it was helpful to you, please do click like because it helps me out. And if you have any feedback or suggestions, I'm always listening. So I'll talk to you guys in the comments. See ya.